welcome to another episode of Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki C., and I'll be coming up. Here I am. Welcome, everyone, to another episode. I'm super excited to have our very special guest today from the Business Leaders Network, which I have met her and had the pleasure of meeting her in person within a month span. We spend some weekends together and in community, and I absolutely love her. Without further ado, let me just get her bio and let me get her up on the screen. We have Lizzie Ens. She's an author, a speaker, a coach. Lizzie is a former Amish girl who ran away from her family at the age of 19. She left behind her family and everything she knew up until then to create a new life. Lizzie loves sharing her story now to inspire others to step out of their comfort zone in order to achieve a better life. Lizzie is now a board certified functional nutrition practitioner, personal trainer, and owner of the UnDiet Yourself. Lizzie specializes in women's hormones, thyroids, and gut health, and has helped hundreds of women take their health back by focusing on whole body healing. Welcome, Lizzie. How are you?
Thank you. That was amazing. I'm so good, and I'm so excited to dive in here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. Met you through the Business Leaders Network, through J.R. Spears. I think you came on. I came on like when he first started the community, and he's bringing more people on. I'm like, wow, he's like really vetting them out. They're just so amazing. They're doing amazing things, and here we are. We've been in a couple masterminds in that group together and just learning your story, which we will talk about. Now, unfortunately, I don't have your book because I have it right next to my bed. I've been reading it chapter by chapter. There you go. Escaping my reflection. Yay. Absolutely exciting. I made sure I purchased that when I first seen you. When we first met, they actually got in your hands, right? And
Yep.
how was that feeling?
Oh my gosh, it was so surreal. I think that first week after the book got launched, published, that after that event in DC, I literally was telling my friends, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel right now. The emotions and just like it was like stepping into a new arena, which I'm 100% sure that you know what that feels like now, because your book just got published, and it's like it is such a wild ride. And congrats to you. Like, it's such an amazing accomplishment. And now it's just onward and upward from here, right?
Absolutely. Lizzie, I would have to echo that. Like the feelings are so, you can't really find the right words, but emotional, grateful, blessed, all those things, right? But there's not one perfect word that really can magnify the actual feelings inside. So I'm glad that we share that about a month apart. Super awesome. But let us know about who Lizzie Ens is and how did your story start? So share about, what happened in your life to get you to where you are today.
Well, my story started from birth. I was born into an Amish family, and I grew up there until the age of 19. And so in those 19 years, I got to learn what it was like to grow up there. There's nothing modern about it. It's very, very strict where I grew up. It's the strictest of the Amish orders. There's no electricity, no running water. We ride in horse and buggies, and we work really, really hard. There's a lot of discipline and a lot of follow through, a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, which is something that we'll talk about a little bit later, how that translates over into my business now, because it builds that kind of character. And that's what I learned growing up. But a little bit more about the community and what that was like is you learn how to work really, really hard, because I grew up on a farm. I have 18 siblings. We cooked all our own food. We garden all our own, fruits and vegetables. And there's nothing modern about it. Everything is hard work. In fact, it's almost as if the harder they can make it for you with the more rules that they bring in their eyes, the better.
Mm.
And
Wow.
at a very young age, I started to feel really unsettled there, and I started to feel like there is more to life than living here in this community. And I was in my teenage years when I started to feel that, like there's more to it. And so I started to kind of seek out, like, okay, what are people doing outside of the community? What are my neighbors doing? Because we had neighbors that were not Amish, so I would start watching them. I would start watching what they were doing. I started seeing that they're doing things differently, and they're doing things that I was intrigued by. Like, I remember we had neighbors literally across the street from us, and across our yard, like our yards touched. And I would watch them, and we didn't have any kind of like affection growing up. There was no hugging, there was no kissing, there was no I love you, nothing like that. So I would watch the neighbors, and I would see them like come home at the end of the day, and they first thing they would do is give each other a hug and a kiss, and show each other that they love each other. And I thought, man, if I cannot do that to my husband one day and love on my husband the way that I want to, then I don't want to be here.
Mm.
And that was one of the first thoughts that I remember having, like, I'm not meant to be here. There's more.
Mm.
But within that, I also felt extremely trapped, because in order to leave that community, you literally have to escape and run away, which is what I did. I ended up,
Wow.
yeah. So
Get through that, because you have a lot of stories to tell. You actually just gave me chills about what you said to yourself. Like, if you had a husband and you can't really show that affection, then that's not how you want to live, right? And just being part of a Hispanic community, and that's really all we do. It would be shameful on us if we didn't greet someone with a hug or a kiss on the cheek and welcome them into our homes. That's how, we were grown. And I still carry that to this day. Like, I don't care how old my aunts, my uncles, my cousins are, or if we seen each other yesterday, we're still going to get a hug. So to know that, that's what you wanted in your heart, and you were looking for that. I'm glad that you have it now, because I was able to hug you quite a few times and, be able to transfer that. That affection, as friends, as colleagues, as partners, whatever it is. It's something that we long to want,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you have that now. So I just had to point that out. But yeah, so continue.
Yes. So in order to leave the community, I couldn't tell anybody. And this was an ongoing thing for quite a few years, where I had to decide, like, okay, how am I going to leave, or am I going to be stuck here for the rest of my life? The other thing that I was not drawn to is I didn't want to stay there and just have a lot of babies, because that's literally what the women do. They put their heads down. There's a lot of suppression within the women. They don't have much of a voice. The men rule the church. They create the orders. The women listen. They just don't have much of a voice. And so if you were to see an Amish woman, especially where I'm from, and you see her out and about, let's say you see her in town, you would probably see her with her eyes to the ground, and she wouldn't make eye contact with you. She may, if you talk to her, but when I left, I had to learn how to be comfortable looking someone in the eyes and having a conversation. Otherwise, it was always looking to the side or looking away, because that was really, really uncomfortable for me. I didn't learn how to do that. So, but to back it up just a little bit, our first language is Pennsylvania Dutch, and we do go to school, but the school is within the community, and we only go to 8th grade. So we learn the really, really basic stuff: math, English, spelling, reading, but it's taught by their own people within the community. So when you learn English, it's really bad. It's very bad. So my English has improved tremendously since I left. I will always have an accent. It's just going to be part of who I am. But with that being said, we get an 8th grade education. So after I left, I had to go on and get my GED and continue on with education from there. But in the community, if you stay there, in their eyes, you don't need more than that. So that's why they only go to 8th grade education. So the leaving process of it is you can't tell anybody. So on the particular day that I decided that I was going to leave, at that point in time, I was dating a guy from New York and I was in Ohio. And so we didn't see each other very often. We had only seen each other in person maybe a handful of times. Other than that, we would write letters to each other. That was our form of communication. And at this particular time, I was actually working at my oldest sister's house as a hired maid because she just had a baby and she needed help. So I was there helping out. And so it was my turn to deliver a letter to him. So I go to the mailbox at noon to deliver a letter to him. And when I open the mailbox, there's a note in there from him. He's telling me that he left. He ran away. Mm. Him and his sister and her boyfriend drove down with a mutual friend of ours the day before, and they ran away. But I want to tell you something. We never had a conversation about leaving. Never even talked about it. Didn't even know he didn't know it was on my mind. I didn't know it was on his mind. But in that note, he's like, okay, like I left and I will come by tonight at 10 p.m. If you want to leave, I'll meet you here. If you don't want to leave, I'll come by in a couple of days and we'll have a conversation. Basically, this was his way of saying, we're breaking up if you don't leave. So it felt like I had prepared for that moment because a few months leading up to that, I was feeling really, really uneasy. I was feeling like something is about to shift, almost as if God was trying to prepare me for that moment, but I didn't know what it was. I knew in my heart and soul that something really big was going to happen, but I had no idea what it was. I just knew I was really, really unsettled. So when I got that note, I snapped my fingers and I said, this is my way out. I'm leaving. That's the easy part. The easy part is saying, I'm leaving. The hard part is figuring out how you're going to do that. What does that process look like? Which will translate into that a lot more a little bit later in business. But I had a decision to make. Okay, do I just jump and go? Or do I wait 6 more months because I have a twin sister? We were really close. She was getting married 6 months later. And I knew if I leave at that moment in time, I would not be invited to her wedding. I would not be able to be at her wedding or see her get married. So I had to make a decision. Do I stay 6 more months and wait it out until I get to see her get married? Or do I risk the fact that I would not be at her wedding and disappoint her, because twins have a really close relationship typically. But I also knew if I were to wait 6 more months and the entire community finds out that I left, if I wait 6 more months, they're going to do everything in their power to persuade me to stay. And so I had to take the risk and say, I can't wait. I have to go.
Wow. And I've heard this story, but before we get into that, we're just going to go into a quick, and we're going to take a moment to see how that escape looked like, because I think that's so powerful. And then we'll get into what you have going on. So give me one quick second. Oh my God, Lizzie, every time I hear this story, I get chill bumps. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JASCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
That is Building a Leadership Mindset lead sponsor. And I just want to say congratulations and welcome to the Connected Leaders Academy as well, Lizzie. I was so happy to see that announcement. So there you have it. That was our lead sponsor, Connect with Jose Escobar. But we are speaking to Lizzie Ens, and she's telling us how she escaped her reflection. So we talked up until this point about, what your life was in the Amish community. And now you have that decision to make to change your life, to go for your future, to see what else is out there for you. How did that look like?
Yes, absolutely. So once I made that decision that I was going to leave, I then had to figure out how that process was going to look like. What are my next action steps? Do I tell someone, or do I keep it all to myself and figure out how I do that? The decision for me was that I can't tell anybody, because if that one person I feel like I can trust, I can't. If I can't trust them and they go tell someone, then people will know before I even am able to make that jump, and they will do everything in their power to keep me back. Because let's be real, other than in the Amish community, other than committing murder, someone leaving the Amish community is like the worst thing that you can do. They mourn you. It's like someone died if you leave. So I didn't tell anybody. And I had from noon until evening to figure out how I'm going to do this. A million things going through my mind, because I am realizing at that moment in time that if I leave, I may never see my family again. I may never be at a family gathering. I may never see all of them together. I may never see all 18 of my siblings again. And that's a really, really tough thing to think about, because when you are in a family that is so big, I'm sure family is huge, right? Yeah. So I didn't tell anybody. I waited until evening, and I decided that I'm gonna pretend like I'm going to bed. So everybody gets ready for bed. I go upstairs and I write a little note to my family, and I tell them, hey, I have to do this. It has nothing to do with them, and it has everything to do with me needing to make this decision and move forward. To this day, I still don't know how I came up with those words, because I'm like, I did not know then what I do now. I just know that I knew that I needed to put that on a piece of paper. I left that piece of paper there, and I'm on the 3rd floor, and I end up instead of just going downstairs, pretending like, they have outhouses, like you have to go outside if you have to go to the bathroom, pretending like I have to go to the bathroom. I couldn't do that. I was so scared. I end up going over to the window. I open up the window and I start climbing out onto the roof, because I was going to jump off the roof. When I opened the window to climb out, there's a dog underneath on the porch, and he starts barking like crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm caught. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to leave now. So finally, my brother-in-law opens the door, and he yells at the dog, and the dog runs away. And my brother-in-law to this day still doesn't know that he helped me. He literally helped me, because he chased the dog away. So then I climb out onto the roof. So now I'm on this 15-foot roof, and I got to figure out how to jump off this roof, because my future is jumping. My future is literally 15 feet away from me. and I need to figure out how I'm going to jump. And I got all these things going through my mind. Like, if I jump and I break a bone, I will be stuck forever. And I will look like the biggest fool ever because the entire community is going to find out. And they have their own little local newspaper that all the Amish write little letters in each week. And that's how we were able to find some things out from within the community, because there's no cell phones or anything like that. So in my head, I'm going, if I break a bone, my name is going to end up in that paper, and everybody's going to know that I was trying to run away. I'm sitting on that roof for about 30 minutes contemplating how I'm going to jump. But I also know if I want a better life and a better future, that's the only way out. So I finally take a deep breath and I jump right into freedom.
I love that. I love that. Every time you say that, I jump right into freedom. And it's really up to each of us that when we feel that we're stuck, we are the only ones that can jump. And I'm so glad that you did. And I'm so glad that I met you and that I'm able to hear your story, and that now millions will hear your story, because there are still people stuck, whether in the Amish or not, that don't believe that there is freedom on the other side of their struggles. The question is how we're going to get there. So how was that time right after you jump? Where do you go, and how do you find that freedom and build what you have built today?
Absolutely. So the jumping part, in all reality, that is the easiest part, making the decision. Right? So you're going to make that decision, and then you commit to it and you jump. That's the first step. The second step is what comes after that, and what's your follow through and your commitment to yourself. So a lot of people that leave, they are under the mindset that they're going to be out for 6 months to a year, and then they're going to go back. Now, a lot of them end up staying because they realize their life is so much better outside of the community. I actually have an older brother that had left before I did, and he went back like a year and a half later. So some people do that because they just want to go and experience, and they never have the mindset of staying and creating this new life. When I left, I never looked back. I always made a decision. Okay, I left, and although it seemed crazy to me that I would never go back and like see my family or be there, I actually used to have nightmares that I was forced to go back. Wow. And every single time that I was forced to go back, I was so incredibly sad because I knew that I didn't belong there. So with that being said, I was always laser focused on what's next. What do I need to do? It is a massive culture shock, and there's a lot of things that you don't know. I like to call it oblivion. Like, you're just oblivious to a lot of things because you are so sheltered. There's so much that you don't know. But I also like to think that oblivion has helped me, because it feels like it allowed me to not get so caught up in my head and be paralyzed and full of fear of what if, because I know people that are like that. And for me, it's like, no, we're just going to move forward. So in those first few months, 2 days after I left, I got a job at a restaurant as a dishwasher. That was my first job. My first paycheck was $50, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so much money. Well, I learned very soon that $50 doesn't go very far. But I had never made my own money before. So to me, that was a lot of money. And I didn't have a Social Security when I left. So I had to go apply for a Social Security number, and I got a job as a dishwasher and there was a couple that had left a few years before I did, and they were married, and they took me in and they said, hey, you can come live with us. You can pay $50 a month for rent for the room. We will help you get your driver's license, and your first car. And once you have that, then you can move out and be on your own. And 2 months later, I had that. 2 months.
Wow.
They gave me the steps, and they said, this is what's expected. This is what we expect from you, and we'll help you get there. But then you're going to be out. And so I did that in 2 months, and I moved out. So I got my social security number, got my driver's license, and I got my car. And learning how to drive a car is not easy when you grew up in, riding in horse and buggy. Like, I remember going to a parking lot, and they had to teach me exactly where the brake was, how to put things in gear. And so this is what I tell people on a lot of things, especially in what I do now. When you want to change your lifestyle, because I coach on nutrition and health and becoming a healthier you overall, like whole body healing, those first steps is like learning how to drive a car. Because you have to think about every single thing, every step that you're taking. But the more that you do it, you're going to get in that car eventually, and it's just going to come naturally because you've created the habits and you just know the steps to take without even thinking about it. So I like to use that analogy because I feel like that is also true for so many things in other parts of our life.
I 100% agree. And I love that that analogy as well, because sometimes I think to myself, like, how did I really learn how to drive? I used to watch my grandmother just see what she did when she picked us up and took us everywhere. But I never, I think I was 13 when I told my dad, let me see if I can drive. And I drove the car, and I'm like, don't tell me what to do. I put on my seatbelt, I put it in drive, and I was going a little slow, but he was just in shock. And then, even to this day, like, my car knows where to go without me telling it, right? So I love that analogy. And I know that you are very hardworking, you're dedicated in everything that you do. It just exudes from you, just, again, being in community with you in our masterminds and in our community to show that passion that you have. And a lot of people need to understand that we go through some stuff, but there is a way out. There is hope. We just have to do the work. And there's people out there waiting for you to ask them, how can I do it? And I believe that Lizzie is a strong powerhouse that can definitely help you in anything that you have going on. But let us know about what this 4-letter word with the 2 other letters are, because diet is a 4-letter word to me. I never use it. So what is UnDiet?
UnDiet is literally that. So we all know the diet industry has really messed us up. Like, you got to jump on that next diet. You got to try this. And it becomes this fad and this trend. And so I've done lots of different diets in my life before I was in the profession that I was in. And it never really gave me what I was looking for. I was always left disappointed, or I was starving myself, or I was drinking only liquids, like those kinds of things. And when I started my coaching business, I'm a personal trainer as well. And I started with that first. And then I went into the health coaching after that. So I kind of stacked everything. And when I got into the nutrition and the health part of things, I started to see and realize how messed up the dieting industry is. So I said, okay, I'm going to go on a mission to tell people how much BS that is and how you can create a healthy, sustainable lifestyle, lose weight, feel good, and not have to starve yourself and not have to go on some crazy diet. So in 2020 is when I started my coaching business online. And it was at that point in time, I remember we were driving in a car one day, and I'm thinking about, okay, what's going to be the name of my business? And I knew how passionate I was about not going on diets anymore. So we're driving in the car, and I thought to myself, all of a sudden I was like, UnDiet. And I messaged my friend that was helping me with my website and all that stuff. And I said, hey, what do you think about this? And she called me, and she's like, that's it. Like, that's what you have to go with. So UnDiet Yourself is, I teach you, when you come to me, I teach you, okay, you can create a healthy, sustainable, vibrant lifestyle without having to go on any kind of crazy diet. And the foundation of that is going to be what you're putting into your body, your nutrition, what your diet actually looks like. How are we doing that? And then what's your exercise look like? What's your water? And what is your sleep? Like, all of those things are going to be always going to be your foundation. But within that, we have to bring in some balance. We have to look at, okay, what is it, where are you at, and where do you want to go? And then what does that process look like? And we have to bring balance in a way. Most women that I work with, I have to teach them how to eat more, because we've been taught for so many times and so many years, eat 1,200 calories and you'll lose weight. But the reality is, toddlers need 1,200 calories a day, and we as grown adults are like, I'm going to try to survive on 1,200 calories a day. It doesn't work like that, because 1,200 calories isn't even enough for your body to keep your basal metabolic rate running optimally, which is like the minimum amount of energy and calories, because calories are energy. That's the minimum amount of calories that your body needs in order to just, even if you were just Netflixing all day and laying on the couch, you still need a minimum amount of calories, because that's what keeps our body, our organs, our hormones, our thyroid, our metabolism running. And majority of people, their basal metabolic rate is above 1,200 calories. So
we just definitely learned something new. Listen in, take notes. Give us some more, Lizzie.
Yes, so that's the foundation piece of it. Now, what happens when we because I've been there, when we continuously eat too little, and we're eating, 1,200. I've coached people that were eating under 1,000 calories a day, and I literally don't know how they do it. But also what happens is, if we do that long enough over time, we suppress our appetite. Our appetite decreases, but so does our energy, so does our sex drive, so does our vitality, so does our sleep, because all of those things are going to be affected. And then you're going to eventually start having thyroid problems and hormone problems and gut issues. Like, you might not see that right away when you're super low calorie, but you're going to see it eventually. So I've now shifted more into helping women in the hormone and thyroid area and the gut, because I run labs for people, and everybody that comes to me, they all get a full lab panel done to check their hormones, thyroid, inflammation markers, vitamins, and minerals, because our medical system's broken and doctors are not helping people the way that they need to, partially due to how our medical system is run. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, some doctors are just not knowledgeable in some of that stuff. And there's lots of doctors that tell people they just need to lose weight and eat 1,200 calories a day, and that's the only thing that's wrong with them, when we know that that's not true.
Wow, that is powerful. How can they get a hold of you? I know your website is on there. Can they follow you on social media? And do you have any services, challenges, anything coming up that they can tap into?
Yeah, they can find me at lizzieens.com. That is actually a really great place to contact me. I also have Instagram, LizzieEns _wellness. You can follow me there. I'm very active on there, and I message everybody back when they send me messages. But lizzieens.com is a really, really great place to go to connect with me as well.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. You have been absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for sharing your story, for being vulnerable, for giving us some life lessons on both the feeling trapped portion and also the breaking free from just, those wants, needs, and desires that we all have. And, the story is really going to resonate with a lot of people. Definitely pick up her book. Is it on Amazon?
It's on lizzieens.com.
Okay, lizzieens.com. Get it directly from the author. Get a personalized signed copy.
Yep, I'll sign it.
Yes. Love that. Thank you so much for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Love being in community with you and can't wait to continue to grow together.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I appreciate
Thank
it.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone, for listening to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset. Have a great day. And as I always say, make it count.